All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Sorry about the delay. We are not live, Rio. Or are we live?
Yep, we're good.
Live. We're good. All right, we're good to go. Good work. Rio's on the sticks. I'm on my laptop like the good old days. My shit's tweaking. These two monitors, PC. I don't know what's going on. We got 7 games, though. Sorry about the delay. That's on me. We'll get right into it, though. Rio, how you doing today? 7-game slate. Tons of Q tags. Slate plan already up on the site, but how you doing today?
Yeah, doing good. Really good slate today. I'm taking over hosting duties tonight, so be patient with me as I go through all the overlays and things like that, but we should be able to get through this pretty smoothly. But yeah, looking like a pretty good slate. Big injury news. Already got the Boston stuff. We got the Sengun news that we'll break down as we get to it. You got the Washington-Memphis game, which looks like a really good game from a value standpoint. So yeah, pretty good slate tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, Jordan's already here chirping me. I mean, yeah, it's back in the one screen, all these different tabs. I mean, man, it's been a chaotic day. A lot going on over here, but we got it. Rio's got the back duty. He's behind the sticks, clicking the graphics. Like button. No one's got to do anything for the like button, though. We appreciate if you do hit that. We appreciate if you hit that subscribe button as well. And, hey, new code out right here, Masters15. Gets you 15% off. Hey, look at that. Just like a pro. Masters 15 gets you 15% off. No better time to get in right now. The players this weekend, Millie Maker up top. I think multiple Millie Makers up top. Golf has been on absolute fire over here with our man Tambo. The merger since the D-Gen deal. Best projections, ownership in the industry. Those two absolutely been on fire. You get this Masters 15 for the whole month. Takes you all the way to the Masters. The Masters is past. What is it, April 5th or something? Is it on this thing? It's not on here. I believe it's like the first week in April every year, though. So if you use that promo code Masters15, it'll get you all the way through that. USC has been on fire over here. It was a little heartbreak this past couple days. NHL was on fire, has been on fire. Shout out our man Nades. NBA, of course, Rio, you've done a great job. And shout out Sir John Daly. Man, 3 of the last 4 on Showdown. Come on now, that thing. Congrats to you, Sir John Daly. Awesome stuff there. A lot of familiar faces before we go game by game. I'll stop talking after that. Rio will do the heavy listen. Wins a lot. Hope you're doing well, my man. Michael's in here. Rob J, Ben, Paraby, Kevin, Jordan, William, Paraby, Andre, Cody, Mike Spencer, Charlie, Jordan. Probably saying a lot of same names. Josie Girl, Philly Phantom, Justin, Juice, Gator Nation. Yes, I did, Gator Nation. Jasmine in here as well. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Like I said, like button, subscribe button. Masters 15 gets you 15% off. Rio, I'll throw it to you, though. People mentioned like the Celtics threw a wrench into things. Definitely a couple of teams, I think, that are going to get the main group of ownership right now. Celtics are going to get some. The Wizards are going to get some. Then the Rockets, I think, are the 3 main teams on this 7-game slate. Of course, plenty of Q-Tag still can change things up, but any initial thoughts before we go game by game?
No, I mean, there's some really good games to attack tonight. I think that the Indy OKC game has a lot of fantasy appeal. The Milwaukee Sacramento game looks really good. I mean, I think you could even get into the Minnesota Clippers game tonight with that game having a lot of playoff implications. But yeah, I mean, it kind of looks straightforward. Like, I don't want to mess around too much with the value options tonight. I think that the ones that I have listed in the slate plan might be the only ones that I'm really considering tonight. I just don't think that that's where the slate is going to be won tonight. I think you're just gonna kind of take your chalky value pieces and run with it with like the Hausers, the Dylan Brooks that we'll go over a little bit later. But I do think that there are some pretty decent spend up options and some lower owned options in the mid tier that we'll go over once we get into the game by game stuff. But yeah, I mean, the slate looks pretty good tonight. I could see it being pretty high scoring.
Paraby, I'm not saying that again with the last word you said. And Jasmine, we did switch things up. I was trying to click on your comment. I couldn't even get it up here. Yeah, no hosting duties. Got in here late. Can't mix and match them. Rio's got it. We did switch things up. Good note, or good eye right there for the change. But hey, let's get right into this. Good breakdown, Rio. And again, I think some of these, like especially teams, easy cross off some teams. I even think some of these games, and I'll even kick it off first game of the night, 30 minutes after usual, so 7:30 Eastern, and this game is on an island. But low total right here, Philadelphia 76ers, New York Knicks, 208 total, 6-point spread. The Knicks are favored. Embiid's still out. Anthony Melton's still out. Nothing else on the Philly side. New York, we just have OG questionable. But again, I don't, even if OG is playing, I mean, I don't have interest really in this game at all. It'd be a Brunson, a Dante, a Hart, max 1. And then, yeah, probably nobody on the Philly side. I mean, max 1, Dante, Hart, Brunson, they'll all be low owned. You can use them to get a little different, but I don't want to lock too much in this first game. Plenty of other better game environments. So what you got?
Yeah, I mean, for me, pretty much the slate starts at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight because this one just looks like a pretty clear cross-off with Tyrese Maxey set to make his return tonight. That pretty much takes out all of the secondary guys. I mean, Tobias almost 8K, Buddy Hield and Oubre looking like, not good values in the mid 6Ks now. I think that Paul Reed is like okay to keep in now that he's got the power forward eligibility. He's been playing pretty well. They're kind of mixing and matching him and Mo Bamba off the bench. But I mean, if OG Anunoby is back tonight, that really, I mean, that makes the Knicks defense so much better. We talked about, with him going down, how the Knicks were really struggling defensively. But I mean, they put up some really, really good defensive games lately. They held the same Sixers team to like 80-something points last game. It was really low scoring. And then the game before that, they blew out the Magic, held them to a very low point total. So I think that you're pretty much just crossing this one off. If I would consider anybody, probably still Jalen Brunson, 9.3K, because the Sixers have been pretty bad defensively, but I'm not really looking to lock in any of these guys who really think there's much better spots to go tonight.
Yep, I love it. We're in agreement. I mean, it's no hot take, though. A lot of the industry will pretend that the slate does start at 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, like we said, a Dante, Hart, Brunson. You said Brunson was your favorite. They'll all be low-owned, single digits, and they do have upside, as we know. But, yeah, OG News doesn't do too much. One of those max, probably have my lineup with nobody playing in that first game. Get to these 8 p.m. Eastern games, which we have multiple of these games. Again, 7 games on the slate. Plenty of Q takes, too. So another reason not to lock too much into that first game. Washington Wizards, Memphis Grizzlies, 219 total. Wizards 3-point favorites. Injury report on the Wizards side. Bagley and Rashawn Holmes are questionable. They're thin in the front courts. Other side of the game for Memphis. I mean, man, always plenty of injury news. Only Q tag is Jordan Goodwin, Lamar Stevens are questionable. They're going to be without Jaren Jackson, Vince Williams, and John Conchar to go along with, Ja, Bain, Smart. Their whole starting 5 pretty much in the beginning of the year has been out. So plenty of injuries on the Memphis side. Throw it to you. Conchar is questionable too. I don't know how I missed that. So Jordan Goodwin, John Conchar, and Lamar Stevens, all questionable and all do get some minutes. So while there's plenty of other bigger Q tags on the slate, if all 3 of these guys were ruled out or something like that, can we get to some of these Laravias of the world? I mean, they'd be thin. If they missed all 3 of them, they'd have 7 bodies? So that means they can't even have, if I'm counting this right, they'd have 7 bodies if all 3 of them miss, and you need 8. So at least one of them is at least going to suit up or play. Yeah, I'll throw it to you on this situation, but Memphis is thin, only could be thinner. Yeah, take it away. And some of these Wizards guys are interesting too in a great matchup. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I'll start on the Wizards side of things. So Bagley and Holmes are both going to be out tonight. They've already got ruled out earlier in the day. Bagley's going to miss.
Did I say that wrong? Because Aesthetic said that as well. Bagley and Holmes, front court's out.
Yeah, you said questionable, but it's all good. You're just now catching up to everything. But Holmes got ruled out earlier today, so we should see the starting lineup with Kuzma as the center and then Corey Kispert as the power forward. I think that all of these, I think you could consider 6 guys on the Wizards tonight. I think you have to be cautious about how you're playing them. I think Kuzma is the top option. The price is not really reflecting how good he's been playing lately. 41 DK points in 8 straight games, coming off 50-plus DK performances in back-to-back games. The rebounding rates are going to increase with him seeing more small ball run. I think really Denny has kind of benefited the most from them going more small. His rebounding rates have been really good lately, but the opportunity will be there for Kuzma to get the double bonus. I like him a ton at 8K. mentioned Denny. I think that he's pretty solid. 7K kind of seems pretty priced up, but from an ownership standpoint, looking as one of the lowest owned Wizards guys, so a little bit of a leverage spot off of Kuzma if you want to get to Denny. I think Poole is kind of now priced up to the point where it's a little bit tougher of a click. I would much rather get down to Tyus at 6.2K, who's coming off a really good game as well. Put up, 16 assists? I think he's got a couple of those 16, 17 assist games in the last month or so. But the range of outcomes has been really wide on him. He's had a range of outcomes of 15.8 to 52.5 in the last 15 games. So very, very low floor and high upside type of play, which is good for GPPs. But starting to notice that him and Jordan Poole are pretty negatively correlated. I think that when Poole is on, it's most likely coming at the expense of Tyus Jones. So I would be a max one of those two. And I think Kispert is a really solid value at 5K. Memphis team has been really vulnerable to three-point shooters at times this season. They're bottom 9 in catch-and-shoot defense, and they were one of the worst three-point defenses earlier this season. The rim defense has been much worse lately, but we know that they can give it up to three-point shooters, so I don't think that Kispert is a bad play at all, even coming in with a ton of ownership. Koulibaly, looking at some ownership, I would probably be max one Koulibaly and Poole as well. I just don't think I'm going to go there, especially coming in with like 20% ownership. He got there last game in 36 minutes, only got to 26.5 DK points, and that was because he had 4 combined steals and blocks. So that's 8 points right there. If you take away that, not looking at a very good game at 4.6K, so I'm kind of okay with getting away from it. But yeah, I'm really considering everybody from Koulibaly up to Kuzma are the guys that are going to remain in my player pool on the Wizards side of things. And then, yeah, you mentioned it, the Memphis side, they could be really thin tonight, could just have 7 bodies with all 3 of those Q tag misses. I feel like 8? Yeah, you need 8.
But
so
one of them,
yeah, they'd probably just suit one up and then have it just be like a DNP type thing. But I think that I think one of these guys does play. I feel like Lamar Stevens probably the most likely to play because this is a new injury for him. He's been in the rotation a good bit, so I feel like he's probably the most likely to play. I think Goodwin and Contra are the most likely to sit. If both those guys miss, then yeah, I mean, you got to consider all these guys. I think Santi, Gregory Jackson, and Jake LaRavia would be really solid. I think LaRavia would probably be my favorite, just with a positional standpoint. 5.2K at the small forward. He's had double upside in a couple games. Been playing really well lately as well. Is 24, no less than 24 points in 4 straight games, with 2 of those games being a double in one in the 40s, one in the 35-point range. So he looks pretty good from a value standpoint. And then this Dejan Giroux guy, I don't know much about him, but he played last game 28 minutes, put up a pretty solid stat line, 7 points, 5 assists, and 10 rebounds with 3 steals. So if Goodwin and Conchar miss, I don't know if he would get the start. They would need to bring somebody else in the starting lineup. It could be like a Trey Jameson or Lamar Stevens, but I think that his minutes would be pretty safe. Did get priced up pretty aggressively. You don't really know like too much about the guy, so he could have a really low floor. Just, I mean, a lot of these guys aren't really NBA caliber type players, so we don't really know, but the opportunity should be there. And if they're only going to have 8 guys, you have to have interest in a lot of them. I think that Kennard would probably be the least favorite just because the minutes aren't really there for him, with him being a vet. Yes, I think that he'd be my least favorite. I'm kind of just considering all the forwards from Santi, Gigi, LaRavia, and then Giroux would be the guys I'm considering if those questionable tags were to miss.
So you'd be good at that price, say at 5'2". Like, how was he 5'2", and then like Gigi's only 5'6", Contra is only 4'8". I know you don't like Kennard, but you give me like straight up between those two. I mean, Kennard definitely projects a lot better. Like, why did this Giroux dude get all this price bump? And you would need him to start, I take it, to play him, right? And he still probably will be relatively low on, maybe, even if he does start at this price.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think that he needs to start for me to get there. I think that if both of Goodwin and Conchar miss, regardless of the starting lineup, I would have interest in him just because they're going to be down pretty much to no ball handlers with Vince Williams out tonight. I mean, they would have
it'd be Kennard and then
Kennard and maybe Gigi Jackson takes on a little bit, maybe LaRavia too, but I mean, they'd be down to pretty much no ball handlers. So I think you'd have to have some interest in him.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Everyone keeps talking Tyus revenge game, a true revenge right here. Yeah, I mean, I think Tyus is definitely a strong play, even if it wasn't for the revenge narrative. I mean, picking out Memphis probably going to be shorthanded. Tyus handles the ball a lot, 6'2". I mean, how is Giroux 5'2" and Tyus is 6'2"? DraftKings has done, outside of a couple players like Luka, that have done pretty good in pricing throughout the year. I think it's been fine, but price like that absolutely makes no sense. You said the only rule really would be Koulibaly, Jordan Poole, max 1. Other than that, you're no rules to go. You'd be fine with Kuzma, Tyus, and Kispert. All three of them are going to get some ownership, but would you be fine all of them together? Or do you force a run back on the Memphis side?
I'm not sure I want to get to 3 of these guys tonight. I think that 2 would probably be enough, just because there are some guys in the later games in the similar price ranges that I don't want to lock in too many of these guys too early. But yeah, I think you could probably get to 3. I would probably be max 2 personally. But yeah, I would be max 1 Poole, max 1 Poole Tyus, max 1 Poole, and Koulibaly is how I would play it. I think everything else is kind of fine to float around.
Cool. Yeah, good breakdown. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern. We should get a lot of these Q tags, even maybe before the 7:30 Eastern game. But if 2 of the 3 are out, especially the ball handlers, yeah, they're definitely going to be thin in the backcourt as well. I mean, they're thin everywhere. They could legit have 7 bodies. If all 3 of them were ruled out, which isn't going to happen, one of them might suit up. But if they said he's not going to play or something like that, they would have 7 bodies, maybe 8, if 2 of the 3 miss. So yeah, a good spot to attack. How I'd rank them if I had to, LaRavia would definitely be 1. Then it'd probably be GG, and I guess Conchar if he plays. You're a little worried about Kennard. Lamar Stevens sucks. Jameson, or last thing, Trey Jameson, the center. Someone asked him or Luke Cornett. It's not even close, Luke Cornett.
Close. Yeah.
But yeah, could you get to a Trey Jameson maybe in 2 center builds? Or I think you're giving up too much personally.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would go there. He just hasn't really shown any sort of ceiling when given the minutes. I just don't think that he's an NBA caliber player. So I don't think I would go there tonight.
Yeah, I agree. Let's keep it going. Next game on the slate. Got some time to make up from the mishaps beginning of the show. What do we got? Indiana Pacers, OKC Thunder. Big boy total, 241. OKC 6-point favorites. Indiana side, Benedict Mathurin, he's out. Important Q tag though on OKC a little bit. Jalen Williams, the good Jalen Williams, is questionable in this one. I mean, man, if Jalen Williams already with Jalen Williams in, I think SGA is interesting. I think Jalen Williams himself is interesting. Chet, Giddey, I mean, all of them. I don't know how much I love Lou Dort at 4-2, but you get a very high-paced game, a great matchup. If Jalen Williams misses, then of course I like Chet more. I like SGA more. What do we got? Carson Wallace probably slides in the starting lineup, or Cason Wallace, excuse me. Not sure I really need that. I think it's just the main guys. Even if Jalen Williams plays, though, he's going to be pretty low owned. Ton of upside in this matchup. Other side for me, yeah, Tyrese, of course, I always love. Prices come down at $9K. I prefer the $1,700 savings with Siakam. Small forward, power forward eligibility. You talk about the matchups and what you like, but how I see it, SGA, Jalen Williams, if he plays, Chet, all solid plays. I think ownership relatively in check. And these Pacers, mainly just a Tyrese, Siakam, maybe a Miles Turner, but I do like that center position. What do you see?
Yeah, I think that Jalen Williams plays tonight. He was at shoot around this morning, so kind of expecting him to play. We've seen some people return pretty at full strength from ankle injuries, so I think that he's probably good to go. I wouldn't expect any sort of minutes limit on him. But yeah, the game's early enough to where we'll have that news, because I don't think you're really trying to lock in Philly and New York stuff. So if we get news that he's out, then yeah, you mentioned Cason Wallace. He got the start in the second half for Jalen Williams' last game. I think that he'd be in play as a value option at 3.3K. Yeah, I think that he would definitely be in play. But yeah, matchup wise, 2 fast-paced teams that have holes in their defense in certain areas. The Pacers being dead last in pick and roll defense and in ISO defense, whereas the Thunder, they're allowing the most points per game off of putbacks, so offensive rebounds, and then they are bottom 5 in 3-point defense, bottom 4 catch and shoot defense. So I'll start with the Indy side of things, because I think that some of these guys are interesting, mainly Tyrese Halliburton at 9K. I know he's been playing very, very poorly lately, but the assist numbers are trending up a little bit. The ball handling, touch time numbers have gone up over his last 3 games as well, averaging over 7 minutes of touch time. He hasn't shot the ball well, 4 for 23 over his last 3 games, but OKC, huge 3-point funnel. I think that one of these games, Halliburton's going to have one of those, really big games that we were getting from him earlier in the season. I could see it happening tonight in a really fast-paced game. So I like him a lot. I prefer him to Siakam, just because Siakam he kind of operates a lot around the basket. He's had a couple games where the 3-point numbers have spiked a little bit, but he's never really been a lights-out 3-point shooter in his career. Needs to get downhill. Oh, damn. Alfred Sengun done for the season. So I would prefer to get up to Tyrese Halliburton. But yeah, I mean, Siakam the price tag's really good for him. Fast-paced matchup. I don't know. I don't really love Siakam even at the price tag, even in this type of game environment. I'd look to get away from it. I think I like Miles Turner a good bit here as well. As I mentioned, with the Thunder being one of the worst teams at allowing offensive rebounds. The issue with him is he's just kind of hangs out around a 3-point line. I guess it's a good matchup for him as well, with the Thunder struggling to defend 3-point shooters. I would really love to see him, get down low and get the rebounding numbers up for him to reach his upside. But the price has come down. 6.3K, I think, is a pretty reasonable price tag for him. I like Aaron Nesmith a good bit tonight at 5.4K. Looks to be coming in really low owned, and he kind of, he was on a little bit of a minutes restriction coming back from his the lower body injury. I believe it was like a shin injury. Hadn't topped 30 minutes since he came back, but then got up to 37 against Orlando last game. Shot 4 for 6 from deep. He's been really, really good from a 3-point shooting standpoint this season. One of the better corner 3-point shooters in the league this season. I think that he's got some pretty sneaky upside in this game. And, if you want to get some exposure to it, I think that he makes a lot of sense with the shooting guard small forward eligibility. So I like him. No on Nembhard, no on Isaiah Jackson, Shepard, Jarris Walker. But I do think that these secondary guys like TJ McConnell, Jalen Smith, and Obi Toppin are pretty interesting. TJ mainly just because he's shown huge upside coming off the bench. I don't know. I wouldn't go too overboard with it because he could just play 12 minutes like he did against Minnesota or 18 minutes against Dallas. Would not expect 27 minutes on a nightly basis, but maybe he starts to get a little bit more minutes with Benedict Mathurin done for the season. They need some more offensive weapons in the second unit, so could be TJ McConnell season. And then this is a spot where I could see Obi Toppin getting some more minutes. We've seen some teams like to go more small ball lineups against the Thunder, just with them playing at such a high pace. So I think that Obi Toppin is interesting at 3.8K. And on the OKC side, pretty much just the big three or bust for me. Really like the matchup for SGA. Like I mentioned, the Pacers dead last in ISO and pick and roll defense. SGA's top 9 in pick and roll defense, or pick and roll points per game, and second in the league in ISO scoring. So this could be a really, really big scoring game for SGA tonight. Always mention how he needs close to 40 points to really pay off the price tag. He's had a couple games where he's been close to triple doubles. But yeah, I could actually see him putting up close to 40 in this one with the pace of play and the defensive weaknesses of the Indiana Pacers. Chet Holmgren is pretty interesting. Had a couple down games, but Miles Turner's been giving up some really big games to opposing centers lately. We already know that the Pacers are one of the worst rim defenses in the league, so he could get it going from there. But yeah, coming off 2 down games, one of those was due to the huge blowout. But before that, he was starting to show a really consistent floor-ceiling combo. Had scored 41-plus DK points in 6 of his last 8 games. So I think he's got pretty big upside in this spot. A little bit of a leverage spot too, because I think that there's some ownership condensing in that 7K range around. I mean, Rudy Gobert was getting a little bit. Obviously, Kuzma's getting some. Miles Turner's looking at it a little bit. So he could be pretty low-owned option tonight. And then, Jalen Williams, I think he's fine. 6.9K. I would not really expect a minutes limit on him. Don't really have much to say. Pacers been pretty bad in DVP perspective against power forwards. Got a really solid ball handling role leading the second unit. And, I don't know. I'll continue just taking an underweight stance on Josh Giddey. He got there in 19 minutes last game, put up 40 points. But, I mean, the minutes are still pretty low for him, so I'd be okay getting away from him.
Great breakdown for sure. So, couple things. We'll start. Case and Wallace, how do you – so right now, the most popular spend is Tatum at 9.7. He's one of the top raw points players on the board. We'll get to the Celtics side. But it's not like 9.7 breaks the bank. It's not like it's a Luka at 12K, something like that. Mid-tier, as Tatum's the highest price spend, will be the most popular route. Case and Wallace, you mentioned at 3.3. If he does start, if Jalen Williams were to miss, But how would he rank? And again, he did go through shoot around. He's expecting to play. But how would you compare that to the Cornets of the world? The Dylan Brooks is getting some ownership down there. It's not all the way in the 3K range, but like, again, a lot of the roster construction is high 3.9s, low 4Ks, multiple people in the 5Ks, the 6Ks, whatever, and the mid-tier that way. So would you consider like a Giannis, an SGA, and then go Case and Wall as like more stars and scrubs if you got that? Then the other question kind of on that boat, SGA, Giannis 11.5, Wemby 10.6, just center eligibility. SGA 10.5, Sabonis 10.4. Then we got Ant and Tatum at 9.7. Touch on the upper range and where SGA falls for you.
Yeah, so like if Jalen Williams were to miss this game, then and if Casey Wallace were to get the start, then I would have a lot of interest in him, mainly because the roster construction. If that were to allow me to get, Tatum and a Giannis, or Tatum and a SGA or Sabonis or something like that, then I would love that, because I think that some of these upper tier guys like the Giannis to all the way to Ant Edwards have really big upside in tonight's matchups. But in terms of where SGA falls in the spend ups, probably like the third best option. I would say it's Giannis, Tatum, and then SGA. Just because I think he's got really high scoring upside in this matchup. I think that 60 is definitely on the table for SGA tonight. You can also bake in the matchup for guys like Sabonis and Wemby, which we'll talk about later. Even Anthony Edwards, like their matchups aren't the best. Whereas SGA I would argue probably has the best matchup, second best matchup out of all the spend ups behind Jason Tatum. So yeah, I think he's a really strong spend up option tonight. I love SGA tonight.
Yeah, I like SGA. I like Jalen Williams too. I mean, such a great game environment. Your man Nesmith, you are gonna get this game low on for sure. Big boy spread or big boy total, pretty close spread. Yeah, I guess you did. I mean, looking at Siakam's game logs, it looks like DeRozan. And the DeRozan we always talk about, and DeRozan's actually much better. So I'll take
Jordan's got to play him tonight then.
Yeah, there you go, Jordan. You'll get your 40 from Siakam. Yeah, you get your 40 from Siakam. Yeah, not too much. I mean, definitely a great game to target that I think is pretty low owned. And you can come to this game to get, if you want to go in the mid-tier, I think Miles Turner's fine, Chet's fine, Tyrese, SGA, Nesmith. You mentioned the McConnells of the world. I don't think Lou Dort's crazy. And the game relatively will be pretty low owned. SGA is the highest. I don't even know. And Tatum's going to get most of the ownership in the 9K range at 9.7K. And I do not see people going two spends as of now with the value we have. That could change if some Q tags are ruled out, though. Still 4 games left to talk about. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Some people making me laugh. I can't even put the comments up. But yeah, I like the sweater title. To be honest, I threw whatever on. I wish I didn't even put it on. I don't know what the Packers are doing right now. Go Vikes, go. Astic is talking about for Aaron Jones. Hey, he very well might not play 50% of games, but you got a good one for sure, as people know. But that's enough football talk. Very fun to see all these signings. I guess some trades, like Mixon for a 7th round pick. Some crazy things going on in the NFL. But hey, a lot of crazy things in the NBA as well, Rio. Let's keep it going. Masters 15 does get you 15% off, though. PGA, MMA, NBA, NHL, MLB will be here before we know it. NFL, of course, but that's in a long, long time, unfortunately. Houston Rockets, San Antonio Spurs, 222 total. Rockets 3-point favorites. Injury report in this one, Rio mentioned a little bit ago, Sengun out for the year, unfortunately. Very sad. Cam Whitmore is also out in this one. Spurs side, Keldon Johnson, questionable with an illness. I believe that was a midday downgrade or mid-morning downgrade. I'll throw it right to you in this one. We talked about Wemby a little bit. You want a contrarian spend? Wemby is definitely that. Only center eligible, 10-6. Now it does get a little boost if Keldon is out. But hey, anytime you can get Wemby at like 5% ownership, he does have the upside to nuke it. The chalk, though, it's going to be on the Rocket side a lot. Obviously, without Sengun, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks. I think Jalen Green's solid play. Amen Thompson's going to get some ownership. Start with the Rocket side. Definitely going to be pretty chalky here. Any rules? How many's too many? Can you get away from any of the Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks chalk? And then talk about the Spurs and what Keldon news does for you.
So make sure I'm off mute. I am. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty interesting to break down because we've only seen one game this season that Sengun has missed, and in that game, they had Fred VanVleet was out of that game as well. So they started Jeff Green at the center spot. They started Amen Thompson for Fred VanVleet, obviously, but I'm not sure exactly how, because there's a couple ways they could play it. I think that they might want the size and defense of a guy like Jock Landale. So if he gets a start, I think that he's viable at 4.8K, but I would not expect huge minutes out of him. I think Jeff Green is probably the most likely starter, but I guess a dark horse would be Amen Thompson because looking back just a couple of games ago when these two teams faced off, I was watching that game. They had Dylan Brooks guarding Wemby that game with Sengun kind of just playing more off ball. So if they decide to do that again, they can kind of slide Jabari Smith up to the de facto center spot. I guess Dylan Brooks would technically be the center from a defensive positional standpoint. And then I guess they could run more small with Amen Thompson out there because he kind of is, I guess defensively more like a 3 or a 4. So you put him on a Jeremy Sochan. I don't think that they'll really be too undersized. I doubt they'll go that route. Probably more likely they just go with Jeff Green or Jock Landale. But I would not be surprised to see them run a lineup like that out there. Which, that makes me really like Jabari Smith on the Houston side of things because I think that his, also coming in as one of the lower owned pieces. He's the cheapest out of the big three at 6.6K. Shown really big upside a few, just like a week or two ago, put up a couple 50-pointers against Phoenix, against OKC, twice against OKC. He had 40 and 50. So I think that the rebounding numbers could be really good for him here with no Sengun, and he's probably my favorite of the big three. But I do like Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green a ton. I think that I would probably just want to be a max one Fred and Jalen Green because they're two pretty big high usage guys, especially with Wemby off the court this season. Fred sees a 4% usage rate increase, whereas Jalen Green is going to lead the team in usage at 37%. So I don't really want two guys in the same lineup that are going to be vying for the same type of fantasy points. So I think I slightly lean Jeff Green mainly for the positional stuff with him being shooting guard and small forward eligible now because I like some of these point guards like SGA, like De'Aaron Fox, like Damian Lillard, those types of guys. But it's a great matchup for these guards. The Spurs are dead last in DVP versus shooting guards, bottom 2 versus point guards this season. A really good spot for both Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green. I can't really say anything negative about it. They're going to have huge roles, going to play a ton of minutes in a really good matchup. I mentioned that I liked Amen Thompson at 4.9K. I think he's got really big rebounding upside with Sengun out. He's got really good numbers too from a DK per 36 perspective, averaging around 34 DK points per 36 minutes with a 15% rebounding rate with Sengun, Cam Whitmore off the floor this season. I think that if he gets close to 30 minutes, he could really, really smash in this game. And then, Dylan Brooks, it's good that we have some pivots around him now because I was not really excited about playing a 50+% Dylan Brooks, but kind of hard to argue because he's stepped up a lot with some of these injuries that the Rockets have faced this season, averaging around 35 DK points per 36 minutes. He's going to play a ton of minutes, but a little bit of foul risk because I do think that he's going to be guarding Wemby a lot tonight. So, he's my least favorite. I would say Jabari is my first pick on the Rockets, then Jalen Green, then VanVleet, and then Amen Thompson. And I don't think that you're really like running to play a 40-year-old Jeff Green at 4.5K, even getting the start tonight. I'd much rather just play like a Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett type guys. But on the Spurs side of things, Wemby going to be good to go on the back-to-back. He was coming into the game uncertain, but should be good to go. I don't think that there will be much of a minutes restriction on him. Maybe 30 minutes is where he's topped out at, but he's an elite fantasy point per minute producer, so you're getting him at sub 5%. You pretty much just need him to outscore all the people that play like a Sabonis, which I think it's possible. Like he's got 70-point upside. I think there was only probably 3 to 4 guys on the whole entire slate that really have the same upside. Obviously, like Giannis and Sabonis and SGA at times can show that 70-point ceiling, but Wemby's done it a few times in the past 2 weeks. So I think that, getting low ownership on a guy like Wemby is always in play. Kind of sucks that he only has the center eligibility now, like when he was power forward eligible. But so he's
outside of Cornette, it's not like center's the best. Like Kuzma solid, he has power forward eligibility with center. There's the Sabonises, the Chats, the Miles Turner, but how I see it, at least outside of Cornette, there's no slam dunk where you're like, oh shoot, I can't play another center. So
Yeah.
like, it'll keep Wemby and Sabonis and all the other centers ownership outside of Cornet a little lower, which is nice too. But yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about it. If you like Wemby, I'd play him.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agreed. I think that Vassell is probably the only other guy I'm considering, but he's 7.5K, pretty priced up, but he's been playing well. Should be able to avoid the Dylan Brooks assignment tonight with him getting a lot of the Wemby attention. So, maybe he can put up a big score, came back from a 1-game absence, didn't really look limited at all, played 36 minutes. He's the safest from a minute standpoint. If Keldon were to miss, I guess that would increase the usage rates a little bit for him, but nothing too crazy it's not like he becomes a slam dunk by any means. And I don't think that Keldon missing really changes much from these secondary plays. I don't think you're looking to get to Branham at 5K or Champagne at 4.5K. You're not playing these guys over the Celtics guys, I don't think.
Two things. One, Jayshawn Tate, someone asked about, like, the dude wasn't even getting any burn. I don't think now's a slate. I think you see rotations, see what the Rockets do without Sengun for a little bit. I don't think it's the right slate. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they're going to run really tight tonight. Like, it's going to be Aaron Holiday in the mix. I think Reggie Bullock is probably going to get some minutes as well. But, yeah, Landale, Jeff Green are going to be the guys that play more from the secondary pieces, I would say.
And then Sam Hauser or Dylan Brooks, if you had to pick, same price, both definitely going to get some ownership. What would your lean be?
Hauser all the way.
I like it. Let's get right into that game. 3 games left on the slate. Important one right there to talk about. Rockets will be pretty chalky with no Sengun. And you said, who did you rank higher, Fred VanVleet or Jalen Green? I forgot. You ranked him well. You said Fred VanVleet, right?
No, I'm on the Green side of things, but Jabari is my top Rocket tonight.
Jabari's your top, but you had Jalen Green, and you would make a rule max 1. Did
Yeah, I
you
think
touch
so.
on Wendy and Gabriel? Definitely did not touch on Wendy and Gabriel. No interest in Wendy and Gabriel for me.
I would play him over Trey Jameson if I was having to choose one, but I'm not playing Wenyon over Cornette.
But you'd be fine playing Wendy and Cornette together?
I would have to, like, if he's starting, yeah, but like I don't think I would do that just with all the information that we have right now. I would not play 2 of those guys.
The last thing, Jesse Girl's asking about, do you think Tillman will share with Cornette at the center or move Jade? Because Tillman's, he kind of ran out of the rotation a little bit. I mean, that's right into this next game. We'll get to it. Boston Celtics, you're Utah Jazz, 229 total. Boston 6-point favorites. We keep talking about Luke Cornette and all these Tatums of the world. That's because Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and Al Horford out. So yesterday it's the backcourt, the Drews, the Derek Whites of the world. Saw Pritchard get the start. Now you see these front court guys are ruled out. Other side of the game, though, Lauri Markkanen out, Taylor Hendricks out. Definitely got to start on Boston side. Expecting Luke Cornette to start at only 4K. He is definitely going to be popular. Tatum will be the most popular spend. Sam Hauser, we keep talking him, 4-3. People expected him to start yesterday. They went the Peyton Pritchard route. Obviously, with Drew and Derek White back now, feels like a way more safe to be Hauser starting. He still got there off the bench. People now are going to tilt him. He now starts. He's not going to get there off the bench. He got there. I mean, the range of outcomes for him is always going to be a lot. He's a sniper, a sharpshooter. He can go 0 for 8 any day, of course. And they got Tatum. They got Drew. They got Derek White. They have all Celtics basketball. They get the good shot, etc. So just because he is going to be very chalky does not mean there's not paths for him to fail. 4.3K, though, you did say you liked him over Dylan Brooks. Start with Celtics side. If you agree, you think Sam Hauser starts. How many's too many? What you doing with Tatum, Cornette, chalk? On the other side, you're Utah Jazz. It'd be a disservice if I haven't said anything before you about them. So what you doing there?
Yeah, I think the main reason that Pritchard started over Hauser, because we'd seen that situation a ton this season where any one of the guys from Tatum, White, Holiday, Jaylen Brown were to miss, it'd be Hauser getting the start. I think the main reason they went with Pritchard, just because it was a homecoming game for him. He's an Oregon guy, I believe, and I think they wanted to get him some more run. He was, he was out there trying to get his triple-double at the end of the game with like 2 minutes left. So I think that it was really just trying to get him some more minutes in front of the hometown crowd. But yeah, I think it's going to be Hauser and Cornette sliding into the starting lineups tonight for the Celtics. And the main reason that I like these guys over the Rockets pieces, I mean, San Antonio is, it's a good matchup. Spurs have been pretty bad defensively, but much better than the Jazz have been as of late. Jazz are one of the worst, I believe the worst, dead last in defensive rating since January 1st, and they're allowing the most 3-pointers per game, as well as being bottom 2 in catch-and-shoot defense, dead last in transition defense. So, the reason I like Hauser so much because he's a sharpshooter from deep, went 6 for 10 from 3-point range last game against the Trailblazers. I think that he's going to put up a ton of 3-pointers in this one, and I would prefer him to Dillon Brooks, mainly because of the matchup. Same thing for Kornet. In 2 games that he started this season, he's averaging like 30-something DK points. I don't have it pulled up right now, but he's played really well in the 2 starts that he's done this season. He's a pretty good shooter. Fine matchup going up against John Collins tonight. So I think those are the 2 best values on the slate that I am not really looking to get away from. But I love Jason Tatum as a spend up option tonight with this game projected to be decently close. I mean, Boston's only favored by 6.5 is what I'm seeing on the solver right now. We kind of have seen Tatum just take a backseat. He doesn't really need to turn up on certain games like the Blazers last night. He kind of took over in the 4th quarter, but the game was pretty much out of hand the whole game. So he wasn't just going out there getting all of his points that he needed to keep the game close. But I think that the Utah playing a little bit better right now, they could possibly keep the game close, and I think we see a full minutes workload from Tatum. I think he's got huge upside in this matchup for the reasons I mentioned about the Jazz struggling transition and 3-point defense. Kind of surprised to see the ownership coming in on Derek White right now at almost 7K. I was hoping that he would be a little bit sneakier because this is a spot I could see Derek White putting up a really big score. He has not shot the ball all that well lately, but hasn't really been taking a lot of field goal attempts in general. Over the last 8 games, has not topped 14 points in 8 straight. But Jazz, terrible 3-point defense. I think Derek White could get it going from deep, and the Jazz are one of the I believe they're dead last in turnovers per game this season. We've seen Keontae George and Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, all these guys be very turnover prone at times. And that was a big reason why last week I liked Alex Caruso because he's got the big, steals, blocks upside. I think that Derek White is very similar tonight. He could have a game where he gets 4 to 5 steals in this one, and you're talking 8 to 10 points right there. If he makes 3 to 4 3-pointers, he could easily be looking at 40 to 50 DK points in this one. So I like Derek White a ton. I think you have to have interest in Drew tonight with his team thin at 6.6K, but generally just a pretty low usage guy. I think that for 300 more, I would just get up to Derek White. I think I already mentioned the secondary guys. I think Pritchard's still kind of fine. If this game were to blow out, he'd be out there, but he still has pretty big upside off the bench. Should still see, low 20s minutes. So I think that he's still fine. As far as how the front court is going to shake out, I mean, they have bodies behind Kornet, so it's not a lock that any one of these guys, because Neemias Keita is back as well. He'd been out for a little bit. They were, he had gotten some run earlier at points in the season. Tillman is there. O'Shea Brissett could kind of fill in some small ball center minutes. So, I don't know if you have a lean on any of these backup guys, because they had been rotating. Like Tillman would be in the rotation one game and then he'd be completely out the next game. So it's very tough to commit to any one of these guys.
For sure. You're sure Keita's good to go, right? He's on the active roster. He's okay. Yeah, I mean,
I'm seeing him I'm seeing him in projections. I can double check.
I mean, regardless, I think you just play the starter. You don't mess with Tillman. You don't mess with Keita. You don't mess with Springers, the Brissetts. I guess, I don't know. O'Shea, I'm always a sucker for O'Shea when he was on Indiana. Good point per minute guy, rebounding monster, etc. Plays above the rim. I don't know if he'd be the craziest play just because of his price mainly, 3.3K. But I still don't even think on this slate we probably need it. Like those Hausers, the Brooks, the low 4Ks, the fade Tatum, and don't play anyone over 9K. Like I think there's enough. The Derek Whites of the world. Like there's so many strong mid-tier options, Jalen Williams, etc. I don't know if we need to go dumpster diving and take on, which a floor is close to 0 with, Tillman with K-Dubs, like Brissett. Who knows exactly what they're going to do. I think the risk reward isn't worth it. I think with all the options around Tatum, though, And you mentioned, like, he can take a back seat. He is going to be one of the more popular plays on the slate, definitely the most popular spend. If you go like a Derek White, Hauser, Cornette, or a Drew, I will say Drew's one of my least favorite Celtics plays. I mean, just even with this lineup, his usage, I don't think it's not like he's going to be ISO calling his own number and stuff like that. Like, they're still going to get it to Tatum. Hauser's still going to be chucking. They still have Derek White. Like, there's so many other ways that the Celtics are going to play. I don't think Drew's going to get that big of a boost without some of these guys. So he's still my least favorite, but I like him more. Like, if I'm not playing Tatum, how does Tatum not get there? Maybe Drew has a good shooting game, something like that. But yeah, my final thoughts, Cornette, by far my most favorite play in this game. I like your Derek White shout. Hauser, I do guard forward eligibility, which is nice. He feels better than Dillon Brooks too. Like, you at least know he's going to chuck. I mean, he's going to shoot 6+ threes today. Do they go in? Who knows about that? But he's a very, very good shooter. So I'd probably say Hauser 3, and I do like him over Brooks. I don't like Drew. I think getting away from Tatum is very interesting with the ownership he comes with. Like, who would you rather fade? Sam Hauser chalk, Cornette chalk, or Tatum chalk if you had to pick one?
I guess Tatum. Yeah, I guess Tatum chalk, because there's a straight line pivot to Anthony Edwards, but I don't know. It's either Tatum or Hauser, just because, like you mentioned, shooting could be such variance sometimes that he could get a bunch of open looks, and if it's just like a 3-hole hitter going 0 for 3 with 3 Ks, like, that can easily happen. I think it's a lot less likely for like a Cornette to fail, just because you have a pretty solid floor with the reboundings, with the points around the rim, whereas the shooting could come and go. So I think that, like, probably Hauser would be the one to fade. Yeah. I think it's probably Hauser.
Yeah, mine would be Tatum because, like Edgar said, because of the price, the options around him. I mean, Tatum could go for 58, which is a great game. And if a Sabonis, a Wemby, Giannis, like, those guys go for 65 plus, or some of these other mid-tier guys go, there's other outs even in a good Tatum game to fail, or even in a good Tatum game to still not make the optimal or not need them. Whereas if Hauser gets you 30, you probably need him at 4-3. Cornette, at very high ownership, gets you 30, you probably need him as well. And again, center's solid, but outside of Cornette, it's not like a great center slate. So yeah, mine by far would be Tatum in that game. Any Utah thoughts? They're definitely going to be lower owned. Keontae, Walker Kessler, Clarkson, Sensabaugh, anything?
I got to talk about my Utah Jazz.
Exactly.
No, this is actually, it's not as bad of a matchup as it seems. I mentioned this a couple times before on the shows about, obviously the Celtics, they're probably the best team, or if not the second best team in the league this season, one of the better defenses all year long, but their pick and roll defense has been a little bit like their weak point. So I think that if you're considering some of these Jazz guys, it's got to be the guards. So Sexton, Clarkson, Keontae. I think Keontae would be my favorite, just because he returned from the illness tag. He's been playing a ton of minutes lately. I think they're finally starting to just like say, fuck it, let's just give the young guys the run. He saw 43 minutes against Miami, 38 against Denver, and that was in a blowout loss. 34 against Atlanta, 31 against Orlando. So I think that he's pretty safe from a minute standpoint. I mean, same just point guard eligible as Tyus Jones, who's coming in at 20%, 20+%, depending on whatever site you use for ownership. But I mean, Keontae 2%. I mean, I don't think that Tyus Jones is outscoring him that many times really to be that higher owned. So that's going to be the leverage point that I'm taking tonight. I prefer Keontae over Tyus, but also if you consider, like, you're going to have some Boston guys tonight, you're going to have interest in Tatum and Derek White, probably a little bit. People have interest in Jrue Holiday, but I mean, if you're expecting all these guys to pay off their price tags, I think that the way to kind of increase the upside of your lineup is a little correlation, which you don't really need in NBA at times, but I think tonight is a pretty good slate to do that. So I would probably be boosting up some correlation with some of these Utah guys if I have more than 2 Boston guys in my lineup. So, but really just focusing on Sexton, Clarkson, and Keontae tonight. And I guess Walker Kessler is pretty solid at 4.9K, returned from the injury, played 24 minutes. Not sure that the size is really needed tonight for him. I think that it could be more of a John Collins spot, but yeah, I do like the guards a little bit on the Utah side.
Last thing, I know we don't worry about DVP individual defensive matchups too much. Are you worried about like Drew on Keontae? I think you talked about it in the past, actually. It's a lot of the pick and roll stuff, and like guards have destroyed them because, I mean, what Cornette's going to drop. Drew either has to fight over, which you already have there's so many options in a pick and roll where you don't really worry much about the primary ball handler. It's more, how does the center what's the team's pick and roll defense? Are they going to hedge? Are they going to double hard? Are they going to set that's what matters more than the individual guy. But any thoughts on that before we get to
I agree pretty much everything that you just said. Definitely a pretty big downgrade having Cornette out there versus Porzingis and now Horford. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's really the craziest thing to get to these guards tonight. Yeah, like you mentioned, Celtics do give up some points to pick and roll guys. So yeah, I'm fine with the guards.
Cool. We got 2 games left on the slates. 2 games that, I mean, by far, so there's injury news in this one. We're going to get to Minnesota and the Clippers, important Q tags. But this Boston news, the Timberwolves Clippers, I got to spit out what I'm trying to say. The Timberwolves Clippers and the Bucks Kings game is an hour after that Boston Utah game. I'm not fading or waiting for news and fading some of this Boston stuff or fading some of this Houston stuff. Memphis is already in a good spot. Washington, there's already enough good spots where I'm not going to backload or sacrifice what I already know to be a solid play to get to some of these plays. Now, I think it's interesting if you have a couple spots left, if the news does break your way like this. Timberwolves Clippers game, 215 total. Clippers 6.5 point favorites. Minnesota side, Ant's questionable, Gobert's questionable, and Kyle Anderson's questionable. Monty Morris is also questionable. Cat is out. So Ant, Gobert, Kyle Anderson, Monty Morris, all questionable. Then you go to the Clippers side, Paul George and Kawhi are questionable, and Westbrook's out. So again, it makes sense if you want to backload. Rio, I'll throw it to you, but Minnesota side feels like they're all going to play personally. They've had 2 days off. Kyle Anderson, Gobert missed the last game. That felt more so to me. Give him a day off here. Ant was Q-tag there. He's been Q-tag a lot. I mean, he's Q-tagging and playing 40 minutes pretty much every single night. You already mentioned you liked him. Great pivot from Tatum at the same price. I'm going into it of course, Gobert's out. Love Naz Reid. Slow-mo's out. Bump to some of these secondary pieces. I'm playing Minnesota's in. Touch on what your thoughts are there. And then the Clippers situation, obviously, very important Q-tags. No Westy, PG, Kawhi, questionable. But if all of them are ruled in, the Boston stuff's definitely better. I mean, if everyone's ruled in this game, I don't like it much. So I'll throw it to you on how you see these Q-tags going.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody in this game plays, mainly because this game has such big playoff implications. These are the 3rd and 4th seed in the West. I think the Wolves are 2 games or a game ahead of the Clippers right now. So, yeah, definitely a game that both these teams really want to win in terms of playoff seeding. So I would just expect both sides to be fully healthy. And for that reason, I kind of don't have a ton of interest in them. I mean, I guess if you wanted to get to Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, I think that they're totally fine at their price tags. Ant has been obviously played really well in the absence of Karl Anthony Towns, averaging 53.2 DraftKings points in 5 games without Cat this season. So he's been really good, showing a really, really big upside. I guess with a Paul George kind of banged up coming into this game, he's probably got still really good upside. I don't think Kawhi Leonard would get the defensive assignment. It's probably more likely it's PG or Terrence Mann, 2 really good defenders. But yeah, I mean, you can always make a case for Anthony Edwards as a low-owned, high upside option at 9.7K, like the pivot off of Tatum, like you said. And then, yeah, Rudy Gobert, just been really consistent. I think he's a pretty strong cash game option if he's in, but I'm kind of okay with getting away from it in GPPs. And then I don't really have any interest in any of the secondary guys. I mean, yeah, Nas is 7K. So, if Gobert were to miss, which I don't think he is, you're getting Nas really low owned and really high priced. But, I mean, he's shown huge upside. So that would probably be, the only option that I would consider, I'm not considering backloading a ton, but, that would be it if I wanted to get a really low owned option with huge upside. And then Clipper side of things, really bad matchup. Obviously, the Timberwolves, one of the best defenses in the league. So I think I'm just the max one of all Clippers tonight. And I had a little bit of interest in Zubac coming into it, but I do remember now that the Ty Lue loves to run small ball lineups out there against Rudy Gobert. He knows that that's their weakness. So don't think Zubac is very safe from a minute standpoint. Could be a little bit more Norm Powell or something like that. But yeah, pretty much just a max one. I think both sides in this game for me.
Yeah, good breakdown. I mean, we got a 7-game slate. Cross off this Minnesota Clippers game. Cross off Philadelphia, New York. 8 p.m. start time. 5-game slate. That's how I'm seeing it right now. Again, if these guys, some of these Q takes did miss anyone on the PG or Kawhi, an Ant, a Gobert, yes, you would want it. But most people aren't going to probably have spots. Like, you already have to deal with Houston. You already have to deal with Boston. Assuming we don't get this news before 40 minutes, 5 of those games are going to be done with. The last 2 games, this game, not interesting. The last game has some fantasy appeal, but a lot of the fantasy appeal, these guys are priced up. So you're not going to have like too many value options or 2v2 stuff in this one. So again, I'm not backloading. We expect them all to play. If they do play, no interest in Minnesota and the Clippers. Good game to watch, though. Definitely will be fun to turn on as a late night hammer. And so will this game. The Milwaukee Bucks, Sacramento Kings, last game of the night. 235 total. Bucks 1-point favorites. Injury report in this one. Beauchamp questionable, means nothing. Middleton is out though for the Bucks. Kings side, Keegan Murray is questionable, which does mean a little bit more. I guess I'll throw it to you on that note. Does Murray do anything for like a Trey Lyles? Like, could we get value there at 3.6K? He does have power forward eligibility. Would you be fine playing, or I guess I'll throw it to you on this note. If he's out, and do you have a lean on that, would it be Trey Lyles starting, or would they go somewhere like a Duarte for smaller? Because if you do think that's the case and he has a chance at missing, on a slate without a ton of value, I think Trey Lyles is still going to get run even if Murray's in. If he's out, he gets a huge bump, and ownership is going to still be very low. So I guess what's staring me in the face right now, 3.6K Trey Lyles. I think Dame, Fox, Sabonis, Giannis, all of them are good. Malik Monk's been hooping, but like comparing them to who's in their range, the Tyrese's, the Ants, etc. Like, can you get to Dame, Fox, Sabonis, any of those guys? But start with I went in a million circles for you. Start with Keegan Murray and his Q take, because I do think that could really be sneaky for Lyles. Again, even if Keegan Murray is in, I don't think it's the worst play on a slate like this.
Yeah, so Keegan Murray. Oh.
No, and I have no interest in TJ Warren for people that are talking 10-game contract. No interest here. And I'll say Malik Beasley as well. I think he is interesting for 4-4. Kings give it up for threes. No Middleton. Like, I think Beasley's interesting, but I don't love the ceiling. Like, give me 24, and that's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah, on the Keegan Murray front, though, I do think that he plays tonight because he was at shoot-around. It was an ankle injury, I believe, for him. I think he left mid-game. But it was towards the end of the game, I believe, when he got injured. So I do think that it was probably just precautionary with it being towards the end of the game. But yeah, I think he plays tonight. I guess if you want to, like, maybe he's not 100%, maybe he gets injured mid-game, boost up a Trey Lyles in your MME runs, it would make some sense. Yeah.
Not much interest.
Yeah. But I mean, like, even if you did land on Trey Lyles, like if you're stuck with him, like you kind of like backloaded, like thinking Keegan Murray were to miss, I don't think that you're really upset about that, because he's still going to play around 20 minutes, shown decent upside at times, not really lately with Sabonis kind of just taking over. But yeah, I don't think that you would be in the worst position if you're left with Trey Lyles at the end of the night. But yeah, I mean, I love the spend up options in this game, mainly Giannis and Fox. I could see myself getting to like a little Giannis and Fox pairing tonight. I mean, kind of surprised at the ownership. I guess it's probably just a slate specific thing, but I mean, Fox,
Tatum right in the middle of all of them. Like, I just gonna eat so much, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, Giannis at 50% looks great. Sabonis even at 9% looks pretty good. De'Aaron Fox is 2% owned and is $200 more than Damian Lillard, who's coming in with around 10% ownership. So yeah, I mean, I love Fox tonight. Been loving to attack the Bucks with guards all season long. Bucks defense has really been improving as of late. They're top 5 in defensive rating since the All-Star break, I believe. Definitely over the past 15 games. Kings have been really bad, really struggling lately. They are allowing the 4th most 3-pointers per game since January 1st and bottom 2 in defensive rating over the last 15 games. Let me just start with the Bucks side of things. Go in order here, but yeah, I think Giannis is a great spin up option tonight, coming off games where he put up double-digit assist numbers in back-to-back games, dealing with a couple injuries, a couple tendonitis things in his knee and his Achilles, which is never good. I mean, that's kind of something to manage down the line, but They're not really managing it right now. He played 39 minutes in back-to-back games, so I think that he's fine. He's going to play all the minutes he can handle. But yeah, I mean, a close game against a team that's struggling defensively, against a team that doesn't really have a great interior presence down low. They don't really have anybody that's going to be able to stay in front of him, with Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes trying to guard him tonight. Going to be extremely undersized and from a strength and athleticism standpoint. So yeah, I think Giannis is a great spin-up option tonight. Probably my number one spend-up, I guess, outside of Tatum. But yeah, I really love Giannis tonight. I think Dame is great. He's been playing really good as of late, shooting 20 for 44 from deep over the last 4 games. Kings allowing the 4th most three-pointers per game since the 1st of January. So really good spot for him. Looks to be coming on, finding his role with this team. And then, yeah, you mentioned Beasley. I think I'm okay with it. But his shot volume, I guess, has come down a little bit late. Just not really shooting as well as he should. But, I mean, 4 for 9 from deep the last 2 games, I guess, is good. Minutes are there. I guess he could be like a pivot off of Dylan Brooks or Sam Hauser, because he's $100 more shooting guard eligible. So I guess from a leverage standpoint, he makes some sense. But yeah, I'm really only considering Giannis and Dame tonight personally. And then Sabonis, really tough matchup for him versus Bucks team, who's getting a lot better defensively. The interior defense has gotten better, kind of going back to being a little bit more of a 3-point funnel with Giannis and Brooks. Brook Lopez finding their bearings down low. So a little bit under on Sabonis tonight, but I mean, he's got probably the safest floor to ceiling combo on every slate now that the rebounding and assist numbers have been really good. So I'm not really looking to go out of my way to get to him tonight, but I'd be okay if I landed on him. And then Fox, already mentioned that I really like the matchup for him. Bucks bottom 3 in pick and roll defense, don't really have any good on-ball defenders. Going to put Beasley and Dame on him, so I really like the upside on Fox tonight. And then I guess the same could be said for Malik Monk. Good matchup versus guards. I think that I would probably be max 1 Fox and Monk tonight, just with the price tag coming up on Monk a little bit. I don't know if I want both of them on this, I guess not a large slate, but with so many good options, 2 of them in the same lineup. So that's kind of how I'm approaching it tonight.
Yeah, good breakdown. A lot of people talking Monk. We were on the train a little early last week, starting with the Lakers. He's been printing for a lot of us. I would max want, like, you can play Monk any single game of the year, because when he plays, the minutes are around 30. When he starts hot, when he makes shots early, he has a little more minutes upside, and the dude will just continue to chuck. No one's going to really play him at 6-7. I like the next one, though, with him and Fox, because if he's chucking, that means Fox taking more of a back seat, not handling it as much, whereas Monk starts off slow, or it's Fox early, whatever it may be. Monk takes a little more of a back seat. You know you're not getting the upside. Both of them hitting the upside. They've done it plenty together, but it feels like, I shouldn't say plenty. I don't know how many times they've done it. I know they've done it multiple times. They just did it with the Lakers last week, but it feels like you need a lot to go right on this 7-game slate with plenty of good mid-tier options. Like Derek White, someone said, over Monk. Yeah, if I had De'Aaron Fox, there's no way I'm clicking Monk over a guy like Derek White when I already have him. So I do like that max 1 rule. What are your thoughts? It's the last game. We'll be out of here in a sec, but Pat Connaughton, you're talking 3-3. Who was it? It was Case and Wallace earlier. If Jalen Williams to miss, you said Pat Con's fine. I mean, right now we don't have good low 3K options. You get some, like if the Minnesota or the Clippers, another reason to play this game, if you do have a different thought process than us about these Clippers or Minnesota injuries, you can easily, like a Fox, a Dame, Giannis, and then a Beasley, Pat Con, like find 2v2s. If they're out, just go to that game. If everyone's in that game, this game is much more appealing. What are your thoughts? Pat Con is a punt, 26, 30 minutes the past 2 games. No Middleton, obviously. Any thoughts there?
No, not really. I mean, it's possible they get him out there a little bit more for defensive assignments, but I kind of think that it'd be more likely that like a Pat Bev gets more run in this type of game with the guards that the Kings have. I'm not sure Connaughton really matches up as well against like a Fox and a Monk. I think Pat Bev kind of does a little bit more. Yeah, I don't really have any strong leans on Pat Con really. I mean, he's got upside at times, put up 17 against the Lakers, but I mean, that's a really good match. I guess it's a kind of a similar matchup if you're talking 3-point finals with the Kings really struggling in that category, put up 4 against the Lakers. So I guess that's kind of the upside case. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, if it fit, like if someone might ask about like a Jay Crowder or something, I'd still prefer, even for 200 cheaper, I think, Pat Con, get the guard and forward eligibility. He plays off the bench. Crowder starts, but I mean, Crowder's out there for 3-and-D, like the definition of 3-and-D. I just like the upside a little more. I prefer Beasley, though, at 4-4. Just trying to find some value options. Like Kevin Huerter at 4-1, I think is fine. If you do want to find some 2v2s, 3v3s, Pat Con, Beasley, and Huerter would be the punts down here. But yeah, mainly the studs is how I see in this one. Nicky Tarantino, what's going on? Appreciate that. Nate D, appreciate that as well. Adam, is anyone's video tripping? Only you, it seems like so far. Wouldn't be surprised if it was something on my end. My video is a little laggy. Oh gosh, I don't know what's going on. Hey, Rio, final thoughts on this slate though. Final words for the people, then we'll get on out of here. But I don't know what's going on. I don't know, man. Tough day over here.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully get your stuff figured out.
It'll be up by then.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Really like the slate tonight. I think we pinpointed some leverage spots tonight, some high upside spots. So yeah, I think it's a pretty fun slate. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can get some winners tonight. Definitely gonna look to build off of the showdown winners that we've had this week. John Dill, like you mentioned, just been crushing it over there. Or is Sir John? Who was it?
Sir John Daly. I think it's like John Daly, the golfer, Sir John. I think, but how I do it, I read names so fast in Discord, and whatever pops in my head, I just associate it with.
Yeah.
Like Bada Bear or whatever. I still don't even know the dude's name. Like I know who you are, but it's whatever I read. I think Sir John Daly.
Yeah, so it's Sir John Daly. He's been crushing over there. 3 or 4 wins in the last couple showdown slates. We've been doing really well over here. The showdown slate tonight is the Timberwolves and Timberwolves and Clippers game. So yeah, we'll definitely get into some game theory stuff with that one being a big one from a playoff seeding standpoint. But yeah, I'm excited about tonight's slate. Looking forward to it. Yeah, not much else.
Yeah, no, great breakdown for sure. And again, 30 minutes after normal lock time, 7:30 Eastern's lock. Only one game at 7:30, and then 8 and on. And of course, showdown content, 2-game night slate that locks at 10 Eastern. Rio did say, as he mentioned, we do have showdown content Monday through Friday. Rio does a great job breaking down his favorite plays, the slate plan, game theory, how to attack it, ranking his favorite captains. Another piece of content over here. Not many do. Actually, I don't know if anybody does any showdown content out there. Prize pool's pretty big, though. Sir John Daly was like $20K the past 3 slates, something like that. A lot of money to be made always. Great stuff on that, Rio. And again, another reason, you got to click the thing to join. Hey, he was ready. Masters 15, 15% off. Join the nation. Monthly, 6-month, or annual packages. All of them do include the Discord. You can use that promo code Masters15 on all of those options, monthly, 6-month, or annual. And if you do monthly, I mean, any of those 3, but monthly will take you through. We got the players this weekend, big milli maker up top, plenty of money to be made, golf spent on fire. Month from now, you still get the Masters content when your subscription does end. So give it a try, Masters 15. We also do have weekly packages as well. Get in the Discord if you do join. Projections, you need them. We got them, all sports, especially NBA. You'll see plenty of updates in the Discord today when Q-Tags get hit. Rio's got a slate planned up. Cash report, GPP core report, everything will be up. Changes in yellow as always. Appreciate everyone hanging out, though. Appreciate you standing with us for a little bit. Technical difficulties, we will make sure that's resumed for tomorrow. Good stuff, Rio. We'll be at Chip Nation. Get in the Discord. If you got any questions, you can ask them in there. Always refresh the content, updated throughout the night. Good stuff, Rio. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Good luck tonight. Let's see some Chip Nation logos up top. Rio's going to hit the button for Rio on Titletown. Have a good one. Good luck.